put paper as a name tag.
That's my name tag. See? Thanks, Sharon, and thank you, members, owners, fellow owners of this wonderful organization. As Sharon said, I don't think you said, I am retired now. I was the rector of the Church of the Holy Comforter 2.5 months ago, but I have been retired now for 2.5 months, and I'm having a wonderful time. I had a wonderful time before I was retired, but this is all different now. And Sharon referred back to something about who Holy Comforter is, because a lot of people have gotten involved. And a lot of the reason they've gotten involved is because Company Shops is in the neighborhood. Holy Comforter, its whole ministry was designed, and its church ministry is not to be in a sort of an enclosed area. It is part of a community, and the ministry of Holy Comforter was always open to the community, and then vice versa, the community to come to Holy Comforter. What I watched for over the 25 years as the rector of Holy Comforter, I watched a lot of changes going on in downtown Burlington, and we all did. And it was like downtown Burlington was going into exile. It was leaving, very important efforts to bring some life to downtown Burlington, but none of it really caught on. And so I felt like, and using that kind of scriptural metaphor, that our neighborhood was going into exile. And it wasn't until 2 friends, people that I had met, who are diametrically on different sides of the political spectrum, came together. One of them manufactures t-shirts, and he's an environmentalist. The other is an ophthalmologist, and he raises cattle. If you go back and look at their voting record, it's going to be extreme. But these 2, Charlie Sittner and Eric Henry, found some common ground. And the common ground was in the way our nation, not just locally in Burlington, but we're moving in very unhealthy directions with how we put food on our tables. And there's got to be a better way. And they came together, they went to Vermont, and they went to the West Coast, and they went all over the country. How can we bring this back home here? And I saw, this is the seed. This is Moses, this is Joshua. They're going to take this downtown Burlington area and going to the promised land. And right now we have 1,610 people who are on that journey. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet, as you've heard tonight. We're in the desert. And there have been times along the way, I know I've heard, should we go back? Or should we just sit and rest? Or can we really make it? Because it's rough out here. The movement is moving along. Fidelity Bank gave us a boost. But we still have $300,000 to raise. And I want to tell you, as a new board member, and I'm honored and privileged to be a board member, there's no fancy fundraiser out there who's going to raise this. And it's not the board, it's not Moses and Joshua anymore. It's all of us and all of those who signed proxies who aren't here tonight, the 1,610 members, the owners. That's the way we're going to be able to move the next step. We've got a window right now of maybe in the next 5 weeks, if we can raise it, we can open this thing by the end of the year. It's a little window. And if we don't raise it by then we will continue on, but we won't be able to open by the end of this year. It's each one of us that have got to, and I know many of you have already written your checks. You said, I'm ready to go for preferred, or I've got the other notes. And you don't have to write any more checks. But you got neighbors and you got friends, and we can bring in some new members, new owners, and there's brochures out in the lobby. Take those and bring in some new owners, and then we can bring in some new investors. But we've got to do it. We're the ambassadors. We're the ambassadors who have to do it. I want to end with one story. Being retired, I have an opportunity to do some more reading than I had before. And I'm currently reading a book called The Bridge by David Remnick. And it's a story of Barack Obama in a kind of a character study, in a way of looking at what changed because of this person and this personality. And Remnick really is, the bridge that he's talking about is the bridge in Selma, Alabama, that in the 1960s was a turning point for the civil rights struggle. If you recall, back at the beginning, and whether you like the politics of Barack Obama or not, something changed with his candidacy to be part of the presidency and the politics of the United States. Once he announced, one of the first places he went to was Selma, Alabama, is during the anniversary of that event that happened on that bridge in the 1960s. And he and also Hillary Clinton went. So it was capturing something that had happened before in the present that was moving everybody forward. And before he gave his speech, there was another clergyman by the name of James Lowry who rarely preached. 5 minutes before Barack Obama did. This is an 85-year-old veteran of the civil rights wars. And he couldn't believe what was happening to his world. He said, it's crazy. There were Muslims, and there were Jews, and there were Protestants, and there were Catholics coming together. And they were worshiping in various churches. And he said this is crazy, and to have an African American as a presidential candidate. Here's what he said. Lowry started talking about all the crazy things that have been happening lately. The craziness of him, a Methodist preacher, being in a Catholic church, not long before praying for the health of a Muslim preacher. The craziness of a Muslim congressman in church singing Christian hymns. And then the music, the idea behind it began to cohere. When Harriet Tubman would run up and down the underground, she was as crazy as she could be. But it was a good crazy. And when Paul preached to Agrippa said, Paul, you're crazy. But it was a good crazy. And I'm saying today we need more folks in this country who have got a good crazy. You can't tell what will happen when you have the good crazy folks going to the polls to vote. That's what Lowry said. And may I add, or starting co-op grocery stores from the ground up. That's what we have done. And it has been a good crazy from the ground up. And we're getting there. And we're one step closer. But we can't stop now. With the good crazy is a part of all of us. A year ago, I was trying to evaluate whether I ought to retire or not. And I talked to my financial advisor in Raleigh. And I said, do I have a green light or not? You've seen all the paperwork. And he said, you got a green light, a little green light. Not great. You got to be prudent. And I said, all right, what do you think if I took some of those assets and I invested in a grocery store? In a co-op that's starting in my hometown. You know what he said?
You're crazy.
Crazy. That's what he said. And then I went on, the spiel. This is more than just looking for a money return. This is an investment in my community, and also, and I got into the whole thing about food and how we're in a unhealthy track. This brings us back. He said, stop, David, invest. Do it. We're all there, and we know folks who can be there too in this community. It will change this community, and we're all ambassadors for it, and I hope we continue on, and we sign, and we move ahead, and we get more and more folks involved. Thank you.